on its head in some way, or can we try?
We flipped it upside down one time.
I did. I flipped it on its side one time. Oh, you did too?
Yeah.
Oh, we both did.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, let's do something new and different, yeah.
Let's, next time somebody asks, just put the Chicago skyline on.
Oops.
But truly though, like you said, Wynwood, I don't know if
Yeah.
anyone in here is familiar with Wynwood, Miami, but you go down to Wynwood, Miami, there is no rhyme or reason to the art that's there. It's not, they're not all,
It's amazing.
right.
Yeah.
None of it has to do with Miami.
I think the
That,
best,
I want to see it go in that.
Yeah.
Let's not be literal clowns.
So what's your opinion on status quo, and where do you want to see it in 10 years from now?
I mean, I kind of agree with what they were saying. I feel like it's improving. I mean, I'm just seeing more and more murals popping up. I'm seeing people, yeah, being able to live, or almost live, if not live, fully on it, which is great. And, you know, my vision is, I was going to say, yeah, just that Charlotte continues to embrace it. And I feel like both business and residential folks are seeing the value of art to, you know, their buildings and what it's going to do for them. Whether it's like creating a stimulating environment for your employees or for your neighborhood, I think it's really great. And I see a lot of neighborhoods getting together and applying for grants. Actually, to answer your question earlier, I applied for a small grant from the Arts and Science Council to bring a small piece of public art to my neighborhood. I'm in Plaza Shamrock, and while we're in between NODA and Plaza Midwood, which are exciting neighborhoods, we don't have any public art, and so the grant was specifically for areas that don't have it. And I think that would be something I'd love to see, is public art in every single neighborhood, in every single area that doesn't have it.
Speaking of that, how do you feel the 1% for public art is working? Is it helping stimulate? Is it sparks other?
Me personally,
Everyone.
a lot of my projects have been funded through the 1% for public art.
is that I'm not smart enough to know. I don't even know what
Oh, yeah.
Is that a thing?
It's
Or
a
is that
thing
just-
where basically any kind of public building, like a fire station or the light rail, whatever, 1% of that budget has to go to public art. So it's mandated, which is great, because then I remember, sorry if there's any McCrory fans in here, but he tried to change it to up to 1% years ago. We were like, no. And we went to we were like, rabble, rabble, and went to the city council meeting. Don't do that. And thankfully they didn't change that, because that's really how a lot of the public art has been funded in Charlotte.
So, is that funneled through the ASC, or is it?
I think sometimes.
I think it's whoever is administrating that particular public project. It has to be a public project, like you said, a school, a fire station, a park.
City funded,
Ah, okay, that's.
yeah.
So who applies for that 1%? Just some random person who thinks, oh, I really should jump on that. I mean, if you wanted art in your neighborhood, would it just be random, or typically do the artists do it and say, hey, I could do this, or how does that application for the grant or the getting in for that 1%, how do those, is it artist driven?
Well, the 1% program, it's not like a grant that you apply for, it's just like a law that says like
You have to.
you have to do it, so whoever's developing
So how do you
the
get
police
into it?
station
That's the
has
question.
to, I'm
How do
sorry.
you actually get into it? Like, how do you get
As-
part of the 1% as an artist?
As
How
an
do you get
artist,
a project?
they'll usually put a call to artists out there for all those, and you'll see it on the Arts and Science Council webpage.
Okay.
And so that's how I've applied for many and been rejected, but that's how I've gotten a few. But yeah.
Well, that's good to know.
And those, I really like those because they pay the artist properly, I think, too, and you guys have probably dealt with that over the years. You know, like trying to get convincing your clients that, you know, this is the proper, you know, and all that kind of stuff, so.
And I have one more fun question, and then I want to open it up to everybody. What's your most challenging project that you worked on, and why? And this is not to, you know, put any bad vibes about anybody out here, just in general, like about the work itself. Why was it most challenging?
I was thinking about the client, I was thinking about the logistics, like if you're, what was the job
And you
I was
don't need to-
straddling two
Need to mention
extension
those.
ladders.
Ooh.
I was doing like a Jean-Claude Van Damme split on the extension ladder trying to get up. That's, yeah, challenging would probably be a logistics thing. Although,
So not
Well,
necessarily
I'm
the
gonna throw
art
some dirt
project
on
itself,
some of
more like the way it leads up to it.
what's that?
Not the project itself, but the way that led up to it,
I mean,
or the execution.
with the ones that are arduous as far as like taking time to, I mean, some projects, we were contacted 2 years ago and they just got wrapped, like, which is fine, because life goes on and you're working on other stuff in the interim. So you forget about it after the fact, but leading up to it, it can be challenging. I mean, for me, I think different surfaces are the worst.
I'm trying to think.
Whatever, we forget about it.
I'm trying to repress those.
Positive vibes only.
I would probably say the light rail projects for me, just because it was 8 years and things changed a lot with the dimensions and just the parameter. It was a federally funded project too, so everything had to be made in America, which is great. I love that, but I wanted like a bubblegum pink, like super bright tile, and they just don't make that in America. So I had to just, because I mean I could really push for that, but I just went ahead and changed my color scheme, and I was flexible enough that I could do that and was still happy with it. But
Maybe
just
crosswalk
weird
to help with it.
Yeah.
things with custom tiles.
Yeah,
custom tiles, right?
we have a company that we can kind of work with.
There you go.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, I need to get to know you people more, so I can have resources. But it's super interesting too. I kind of enjoyed all the challenges, even though it was like, oh my gosh, really?
That's what I was gonna say too. I kind of like the struggle, you know, because when you're done with it, it's a little more rewarding at that point.
Yeah. That's true.
But no doubt, we've certainly had clients that hire us to do what we do and then want to tell us how to do what we do.
Yeah.
It's always
We don't know about that at all, do we? All right, well, I'll open it up to everybody. Feel free to ask some questions. Really quiet in here.
Come on, is there a blank, is there a canvas waiting for you, or what's your next,
Oh, we're going to
what's a
work right away.
fantasy?
That's why I wore my Sunday best.
I mean, is there a blank one that's not
Is there a white whale out there?
white, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
where's your,
Oh, yeah.
I want to paint the silos on
Mm.
the side of 277.
Flower
I've been
effect.
saying it.
Yep. There's another one on 10th Street. You get off 277. You can see it from 277. It's on 10th Street, that big, big brick.
building.
Yeah.
I was thinking the parking garage right there on 10th.
Mm-hmm. That one too.
That little
And
red awning right there.
yeah, the UNC Charlotte building. It's the Rubik's Cube with the smooth edge. It faces west. Stay away. No.
Come on!
Yeah, no, seriously, we can handle the proposal side, because that's where we,
That's where we need you.
does anybody have any white whales that I can go harpoon? Brought a harpoon.
I want to question, with all of the breweries that are going on in Charlotte, we're the biggest brew place in the world. Have you done anything there? Have you looked at that market, like the interior of the breweries?
Yeah, it's funny, they're the biggest anchor tenants as far as my tiny mind can comprehend, and they print money, but they don't really want to do, in our travels, like, we've done a couple. We did one for Noda, these big, the one on Tryon, we did the big hands that are pouring a beer there when you walk in, and that's probably the most like artsy thing we've ever done for a mural, right? Or a mural,
Did you do
brewery.
Heist?
Brewery, yeah.
Heist, right? Is
No.
that the one? You did?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
No, it's usually signage. They're like, I just want signage or hops or, you know. I painted a car for Unknown, that was cool. I painted their El Camino. Don't know what I was doing there, but it was fun. Yeah, they, I don't know. There hasn't really been an art-forward brewery yet, I don't think.
Go to South Park then, check with the people there.
Yeah?
The new one.
Who just opened down there?
Legion.
Legion, that's right. Legion did some art, a little bit. But yeah, usually it's like, I want a logo or I want some typography. Yes, sir.
So speaking of proposals, you know, early on when you're talking about a developer and the performa and, you know, they're looking at what their return on investment is and they're trying to quantify building costs, and we introduce an aesthetic emotional portion called art. You know, they look at you cross-eyed. So if we can quantify that and give them some, you know, certainly we can spell out the return on that, how that enriches and brings value to the project and connects to the neighborhood and, you know, does all those things, because we don't live in a city like Philadelphia, which requires public art for every adjustment to any public building, private or public. So how can we educate them on what the costs of it are? And certainly we know that it varies if you have to get up on scaffoldings or you're, you know, on drop downs or, you know, liability insurance and all of that, but give us some roundabout way to speak to costs of size and magnitude. And I mean, even if it's a square foot, idealism, not a hold to.
Yeah, it's such a tough thing to quantify and present to someone that is a numbers, dollars and cents guy. I mean, we have to do it constantly, but for us, it's like, well, what's your budget? Well, we don't have one yet. What do you think? You know, I mean,
Yeah, that's the first question I asked is, do you have a budget in mind already?
Right.
Yeah.
And then I can offer, if they have something in mind, you know, sometimes I can say, well, I can do this much detail or this much, you know, it'll change depending on your budget. So I can kind of work within and stuff, but if it's just, you know, and sometimes I'll go and I'll say, hey, these are some past projects I've done. This was how much it costs. And then
Yeah.
it makes it, oh, okay, and sometimes they get it, you know. I don't break down every single thing,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, it's like, okay, we have scaffolding, I have to hire an assistant. Yeah, liability insurance, all these things.
but as far as you being able to say something to a suit, call them suits,
I think it's a fair statement, right? I mean, so you're somebody's looking at numbers.
yeah,
You, as a designer, we want to talk them into, we want to encourage them to include art. So in that beginning statement, which they haven't considered,
yeah, I would say, if you're familiar enough with a stable of artists that you know do a certain caliber of work on the lower tier, middle tier, and then upper, like Dow, you know, the range, you know, this is your 1 to 5,000 range. This is your 5 to 10 range. This is your 10 to 30 range or whatever. You know, the top tier in this town, you know, you could say that confidently. The top tier in this town is going to be, they're not getting out of bed for less than 550 on something this big. You know, if it's 100 square feet or something, it's not that much. But if it's like a big project, like you could tell them honestly, like you're going to be showing up 5 figures for it. You know?
I think also selling the future value is great, you know, I mean, this could be a mural that people are gonna wanna come take selfies in front of. It could help your business if they're tagging your business, or, you know, that's good for your business, if you're investing in the community too. And just from the like emotional side, don't you wanna invest in your community? I mean, I don't know, they may not, you know, respond to that emotional side of it, but yeah, I mean, it's those like invisible dollars where people are coming out to see a mural or a piece of public art. Hey, they might stop at your business and get a coffee or a beer or whatever in that neighborhood. They might actually stay the night. You know, so you're like adding to the economy beyond just, you know what I'm trying to say.
Well, it's like instant
Sorry,
landmark.
I'm
It's
like
instant
on
landmark,
the
and people are going to use it not only tagged socially online, but they're also, but mentally, or like with directions. Say, oh yeah, you know, you go down Central and you make a left at the big mural.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's
It
a cool
becomes a
factor
landmark
too.
and-
Like people talk to us about like, oh, you're doing something for MetLife? That's cool, you know, like I didn't think they would do that, you know, or you're doing something for this brewery, like I'm gonna go check it out for sure, you know, it's not like they're bringing in millions for these people that hire us, but there definitely is a drive, there's a respect that's given, and, you know, it's an intangible for somebody that's tangible things, but there's a value to it, and that's just an organic thing. That's not gonna be something that's shown in a spreadsheet and somebody goes, oh, okay, there is value. The momentum's there, and it's rolling, and, you know.
Go spend a few hours in Noda on a Saturday and watch the same thing all day long. The same people, or different people are taking the same selfies in front of the same murals. You know, I don't know how you put a value on that, but it's there.
I mean, I'm an artist, but when I go visit other towns, I look up like, where are the cool murals, and where's the arts district, and so I'm going and taking selfies, and, I mean, I know other people are doing that.
Oh, I
not just
Googled
artists.
specific murals, like I was in Paris and I walked 20 minutes, because I got lost and like, there it was, yeah. So Tristan, I go like collect
To the
Tristan.
MoMA.
I did that in Berlin.
Nice. Yeah, Berlin's rad. Yeah, that's, you know, I mean, life is more than mere survival.
Well, and Charlotte keeps saying it wants to be like a world-class city, right? I mean, and arts and culture is really important, and I think you've got to have great public art and a variety of public art.
That's a huge thing
All
that drives me
different
nuts.
kinds, too.
Like, when people are like, there's no culture here, or so-and-so, you know, whatever city has this. Denver has, what's it called, Rhino?
Rhino.
Brooklyn has, you know, it's like, well, let's do it here then. Let's do it here,
Think
why
about
not?
interactive art.
Interactive?
Yeah, so where you basically like provide the canvas and the basic direction and then include the audience in the creation process.
It's never worked for us.
I like doing that as far as on my public art projects. I like working with the community, and that's part of my mission as an artist. But it's not as direct usually, but I'll, like, for example, I did a mural for the Tuckasegee Recreation Center, and I did 3 nights of art workshops with them where we talked about different things from the history to all sorts of things about the area. And so they made art, but I also got feedback from them, talked to them about who they are, what their neighborhood is like, because I didn't want to be like, hi, I'm a random artist who doesn't really know your neighborhood, and I'm just going to paint something. So their feedback directly affected my imagery. It changed. And I actually used some of the imagery because this girl had drawn this great flower and actually incorporated it into the mural. And you know, they wanted specific neighborhoods listed in there that I wouldn't have known about. All that stuff changed it, and then and I'm super happy with how it turned out too. So I didn't feel like I was compromising. And then, you know, people go there and they're like, oh yeah, I did that, or I let them help me paint a little bit because they were like little kids, and I was like,
I can't help myself if there's a
I had to go
little
back
kid.
and do a lot of fixes, but it was super
Brush.
fun. So I love doing that stuff too. I try to incorporate the community if I can into a lot of my stuff, but
Yeah, we did it once successfully. The one in Midwood. We painted, we stayed up all night before this event in Midwood Park, and, well, he stayed up all night, I went to bed, but, and painted this kid in like a, what was it, like a Teletubby suit or something? It was like footy pajamas, but he had like a hood on with ears.
Animal looking
Little ears and
onesie.
So he rendered this kid's face in black and white, you know, this photo-ish reel, and then we masked it and painted the whole panel so it looked like a blank panel. We brought it to Midwood Park with a bunch of old spitter cans that we had lying around the studio, and we let kids go nuts for like 6 hours. Just
There's just a lot of just.
Oh God, that was a 12-year-old girl comes up and just goes.
Telepathic, yeah.
Or they all write their names, and, you know. But it was cool. And then we, at the end, we peeled the contact paper off, and there was this little, and then colored around his body to shape him out, and there was this little kid with a little graffiti suit on. It was cool. That
It was right on Halloween last year.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yep. Yeah, so that was one. You know, but if it's something like where it's a lasting piece, you know, it was raffled off. That piece was raffled off. But if it's a lasting piece, it is nerve-wracking. It's like we did one in South End. Remember that woman came up and was just like Bob Rossing it angrily. The MC Escher thing. It was like an Earth Day thing, and we did the Earth, like that MC Escher, you know.
Was it the?
It was wherever,
Greg
next to Sycamore there.
Papanastos'?
Yeah, Greg's
Yeah.
place, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was cool, like people would come up, and a lot of people were scared. We're like, just paint on it, it's cool. Like we got this, you know, like we'll fix it. And like most people were like, okay, that's it. This one woman, she got up there, I don't know if she just had a bad day or what. She's like, she was like in her 40s, just like ruining this thing. So we fixed it, but
We've never really
It's
done it
tricky.
with public art though.
yeah, that's the
Yeah.
thing. Like
It's all live
small
art,
stuff,
special
like,
events.
color within this circle.
it was really tough to do. It's something that it's a noble cause, but it's so tough to get it right.
Yeah.
It's also, we're using a lot of like, you know, toxic stuff, like spray paint's not good to breathe in, so I don't necessarily want to let the kids run around and just,
Spraying each other.
I like the idea of it.
Yeah. Hey,
You know, when you're doing this, it's amazing, because I do real art like this, or
Cool.
biggest like this, you know. But it amazes me, because I watch them make the, down at the Nations Bank, do that, and I watched them how they did the dots and did the design. It just amazes me.
The
But
three
what I want to
frescoes,
know is how,
big Ben
go ahead.
the one uptown, the big.
Yeah.
Oh
I
wow.
watched them, how they did it, and they had to mix their colors all that one day
Whoa.
for everything that they did to a stopping point, which amazes me when you're talking about, amazes me that you could even do it. But who maintains these, and how long can we expect one that you do without having to be touched up, or at what point does the maintenance on one, you know, is it a lifetime of 20 years, or?
I think 20 is probably reasonable.
20?
With the paint we use, like we don't use like $3 Krylon from
Sure.
Home Depot. We use $8. You know, like it's made for this stuff. The paint that we use is specifically made for this type of art. And I mean, it hasn't been around for that long, but they say about a 20-year. You're gonna get about 20 years out of it. Now we have some stuff that faces. I mean, it faces south, and it's like just getting beaten by the sun, and everything looks good so far. I mean, the oldest big scale piece we've done is 5 years, and I go up there every once in a while, and it's most of it's still looking good. Some of that gold paint, some of it
What's
has
the
like
oldest piece?
the oldest outdoor piece, like large scale that we've done was the local.
Oh, yeah.
It's still standing.
On Fifth Street, yeah. There's some stuff I guess since we bought it. Yeah, there's a couple pieces where we use like I think we put Will Puckett's little miner guy in there, and his face is kind of.
Well, it also depends on, you know, maintenance, like if you're cleaning the surfaces.
Who pays you for that maintenance?
Oh, we don't do that.
We don't do the maintenance.
You don't?
Mhm.
I usually.
So if you needed to touch up with a spray can, I would venture my voice, I really want to know. How do you do that? If you're, or can you?
Practice.
Just
It's
hire you
possible.
to come in and touch it up. I'm starting to do a little spray paint, but I've been mainly hand painting.
Did you hand me that mermaid?
I did a lot of the big areas. I did the spray paint, and then I came back, cut back in with. I used Sherwin-Williams. Sorry.
It's my alma
But I
mater.
usually. And it says it has a lifetime warranty for this outdoor, like super nice exterior paint that I use, which I really like, especially for the city projects, because they really want to know, like, is this gonna last 50 years? And I'm like, well, it says lifetime warranty, so we'll see. But you know, all colors will fade eventually. Yeah, and so I say, like, if anything goes wrong within a year, I'll come back and fix it for free if it's something my fault, you know, other than someone comes by and scratches it up, you know. But other than that, you can hire me to come back and do it. And then usually with the bureaucratic red tape stuff, I will have a whole maintenance file, which will have all of the spec sheets for the materials, all the warranty, all that information for the client. That's usually required for me too. So.
You log like what colors you're using.
Yes, exactly. Like for Caps Transit, the book is like this big. This is my
Teach
like
us
maintenance
ways.
book with everything listed. It's really amazing. So like if I died or like God forbid, or if I wasn't here or something, I don't know, I lost all of my limbs, you know, someone else could come in and fix it, and they could hire someone to come in and repair it.
It's smart, Sharon.
Yeah, we just, for the first time, put